All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another NFL team preview video for the 2020 season. Today we're taking a look at the Detroit Lions to wrap up the NFC North, so let's begin. All right, so as a Vikings fan, or as a football fan in general, I have felt pretty bad for the Lions and their fan base for as long as I can remember, dating way back to the days of the 0-16 season, even the Scott Mitchell era, the era where Barry Sanders was the best running back in the NFL, and he could not win a playoff game. They could barely ever get to the playoffs. And it just seems like this team continues to tread the line of mediocrity and never really able to get over it and ascend to greater heights. And it's a really, really tough division to do that in with the Bears, the Vikings, and the Packers, especially with the Packers having dominated this division for as long as I can remember and doesn't seem like they have any intention of slowing that ship down. For the Lions, it's just been a long journey of really good players and careers that just sort of got wasted because they could never get this team over the hump into the hyper competitive sphere that is the playoffs. So, you feel bad for guys like Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, and all of them that never got to experience the big time. So, I'm honestly rooting for the Detroit Lions, sort of in a way. Not that I don't want to see my team win the division and go on, but if my team can't be in it, then the Lions wouldn't really be that bad of a second place for me inside this division. I think it might be a cold day in hell before I root for the Packers and the Bears in the Super Bowl. Anyway, having said all of that, before we dive into this year's Detroit Lions, let's do a little reflection with the 2019 recap. They were 3-12-1 overall last year. Offense ranked 17th in the league, and that's without Matthew Stafford for 8 games. So that's actually kind of, sort of, maybe impressive. I don't know. They were 10th in passing, 21st in rushing. Defense, 31st overall. This is the problem. They were 32nd against the pass, and they were 22nd against the run. Matt Praticia is your head coach, entering his third year with a career record of 9-22-1. Snapshot of the previous 4 years, we have 2018, they were 6-10. That's Matt's first year. 2017, they were 9-7. 2016, they were 9-7. 2015, they were 7-9. So it looks like right here, when Matt Patricia took over and decided to insert his Patriot ways, if you will, that things just haven't worked out. Now, we can all agree that there's been injury problems. Like, let's not sort of just gloss over that fact. Kerryon Johnson has missed 14 games. Matthew Stafford had a serious back injury last year where he missed half the season. So they really had to rely on backups in key positions for a number of years. But the problem with Matt Patricia, where he could find himself on the hot seat, is that he's supposed to be the defensive genius that came over from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, which we can all talk about how coaches from that tree have not worked out in the grand scheme of things. You think of Romeo Crennel, Charlie Weiss, Matt Patricia himself. The other one, the current offensive coordinator, who went to Denver and totally screwed it up by drafting Tim Tebow in the first round and kicking Jay Cutler and their top flight wide receiver out of the same. What the hell is his name? He ghosted the Colts. I can't think of it right now, but for some reason I always just forget a particular name every now and then. It's weird. But yeah, I don't understand why anybody would want to give him a head coaching job, or at least interview him again. So the jury's still out on Brian Flores in Miami, but I think he's probably doing the best right now. And somebody's gonna come in here and be like, "Oh, you forgot about this guy? He's doing really well." Yeah, I can't remember everybody, as you can tell by I couldn't remember the current offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. That's who it is. It just came back to me all of a sudden. But anyway, getting back after that tangent, getting back to the Matt Patricia point where he's supposed to be this defensive genius, as you can see, that hasn't come to fruition. Now, they've tried multiple things, and what it looks like this year is that they're trying to basically become the Detroit Patriots, if you will, because of the amount of former Patriots players, or at least players that have been with Matt Patricia, are on this team now. I believe they signed a total of 3 free agents last year, and we already had guys like Danny Amendola on the roster. So I don't believe that that's going to work. I don't believe that this is going to work out. Now, there is things to be hopeful about, especially on offense, which we'll get to in a minute. But this makes me feel like the time when a lot of, I don't remember who it was, but a lot of important people left the New England Patriots and went to Kansas City. They took Matt Castle, or they got Matt Castle eventually, and they tried to make it New England of, the AFC West, if you will. And that didn't work out very well until Andy Reid came over, and the rest is history. So I just don't know about this whole taking one one team dynamic and trying to create it in another city instead of just coming in and creating your own dynamic. So, I've heard some things that Darius Slay had to say after getting traded to the Philadelphia Eagles about culture there with Matt Praticia, and some of that leads me to believe that he's trying to be, sort of the Bill Belichick clone to sort of get success in Detroit. But I think that what Bill Belichick does is a little bit easier to follow if you have the rings and the wins to back it up. And so far he doesn't. He's only got 9 in his first 2 years. So let's go ahead and take a look at the projected starting depth chart for Detroit. Pretty excited about the offense if people can stay healthy. That is the key. So, of course, we have Matthew Stafford coming back, who excelled in the West Coast offense last year, using his big-time arm to get the ball down the field. If he can stay healthy, and that's a big if, this should be a really big year for him. Potentially, depending on what happens with Alex Smith in Washington, potential candidate for comeback player of the year, if you will, if the things go well. The offensive line is the question mark. You have Decker at left tackle, Dahl at right guard, Frank Ragnow is their best lineman at center. Then you have Jonah Jackson, the rookie from Iowa, and then on the right side, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Vitae. I'm going to say that. I'm not even going to attempt his first name, who comes over on a free agent deal. So the right side is completely rebuilt, but that's okay because that's not the blind side of Matthew Stafford. But the offensive line needs to do better as a whole, as you could see with the numbers with the 21st in rushing. They need to pave a better way. And that's not all their fault. Kerryon Johnson has missed 14 games. He missed 8 last year. So they had to rely on Bo Scarborough, Ty Johnson, J.D. McKissick last year to sort of get some kind of a running game going. But it's been somewhat of a curse for Detroit and for a number of years not being able to be anywhere near the top in terms of offensive rushing. For your tight ends, you have T.J. Hawkinson, the second-year player from Iowa. They also brought over Jesse James, so you'll probably see that a lot because they do like to use 2 tight end sets. For your wide receivers, you have Kenny Golladay, and you have Danny Amendola, and you have Marvin Jones. Unfortunately, free agent Geronimo Allison has opted out of the season. He is no longer available. For the running back position, I'm penciled in Kerryon Johnson as a starter. I know they spent a second-round draft pick on DeAndre Swift this year, but I think this is full-blown running back by committee, and they're going to split these guys, 50-50, if you will, because they're pretty complementary. DeAndre Swift is good in space. Kerryon Johnson is good between the tackles, and Bo Scarborough is basically your Derrick Henry, maybe Cologne, if you will. I mean, I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying he's a downhill runner, power back. So that is a look at your offense. Taking a look at the defense, now this is where they need to do better. And I don't know that a first-round corner is going to change things all that much in 1 year, even if it is the best corner in the draft that they got with the number 3 overall pick. So taking a look at the secondary, you have Walker and Harmon. Harmon comes over from New England as a free agent. Jeffrey Okudah is going to be your corner to replace Darius Slay. And then on the other side, you have Trufant. I guess that's okay for a secondary. I have to see how it plays out in real time. Jamie Collins, Jarrad Davis, and Jones are your linebackers. Jarrad Davis hasn't really lived up to that, number first-round pedigree, if you will. And then for the defensive line, we have Flowers, Shelton, Strong, and Aquara. Danny Shelton, of course, comes over from New England after resurrecting his career there after he started off pretty bad with the Browns. You'll notice that Snacks and Robinson aren't here anymore, so that's a big key takeaway. And that is your projected starting lineup for the Detroit Lions in 2020. Let's take a look at the schedule. And the first thing I notice is a lot of red in that first half. So you have the opener against the Bears at home, Packers and Cardinals on the road, Saints at home, Jaguars and Falcons on the road, Colts at home, and Vikings on the road. So 5 of your first 8 games are away games. That's pretty tough. Second half, you get the Washington football team at home, Panthers on the road, Texans at home, Bears on the road, Packers at home, Titans on the road, Bucks and Vikings both at home to close out the season. Bears fans, I really hope that this game is meaningful. I want to close out the season on a nail-biter in a competitive battle in Chicago for the NFC North. That would be awesome. So let's try to... Or Lions fans. I don't know why I said Bears fans. Sorry. I just filmed the Chicago episode, so that's still on my mind. So, Lions fans, actually, that would be better than Chicago. The Bears play the Packers at the end of the season. It's hot, it's summer. This needs to be over. So, as I said, the first half of the schedule, a lot of away games, and that is tough. But that does help you out in the second half, where if you can do good in the first half, then you have a little bit of an easier path to the playoffs with, 5 of your last, 5 home games there at the end. Will round out things nicely. Now, there are some pretty tough teams. You do play the Saints, you do play the Falcons, Cardinals, I don't think are going to be a pushover this year. The Texans should be competitive even without DeAndre Hopkins, I imagine. Of course, you got to play the Packers and Vikings twice, so it's not easy by any means. But we're looking for small glimmers of hope, and as long as the offense can be as high powered as I think it can, things should be better, at least way better. This team's definitely not going to win 3 games this year. They should win at least. Oh, I'd put the bare minimum at like 5 or 6. So there will be improvement. I just don't know if it will be enough to keep Matt Patricia employed. Moving on to the 2 big storylines that I'm watching this year is DeAndre Swift. How well is he going to do in this offense, and how long is it going to be before he overtakes Kerryon Johnson as the starter, if he is able to do that at all? Number 2, I've sort of already touched point on this, and that's the Detroit Patriots storyline. Danny Shelton is another one of those players. Harmon comes over from the Patriots. Jamie Collins is a former Patriot. Danny Amendola is a former Patriot. I just don't see how this experiment works, because we've seen it before, other teams trying to emulate what the Patriots do, and it just doesn't work out. The most recent example that I've already mentioned was the time in Kansas City when they brought over some executives from the Patriots to the Kansas City Chiefs, and they tried to bring in Matt Castle. It seemed like it might have worked out for a while, but it just didn't overall. So I'm very hesitant to give, Matt Patricia any sort of, what do I want to say, like, not hope, but blessing that this is going to work. I don't see it, but maybe he proves me wrong. Who knows? All right, so that's going to do it for the Detroit Lions episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.